What's up, everybody, and welcome to Stoniecast number 72 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. Your boy Stony is back for the 72nd time, and I'd like to welcome you to Season 3, Episode 5. To all my fellow hustlers, cheats, lowlifes, hoodlums, scumbags, altar boys with peculiar relationships with their priests, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, fienders, degenerates, all of you. It's nice to have you all back. And hey, what can I say? Last week, put out a dog. Last worst week of the year, right? Obviously, 4 weeks in. But let me tell you something right away. 16-18 last week. If that's a losing week, we'll take it. If that's the worst week we're going to have, we'll take it. Now, I warned you last week that because I was so hot going in, that the roof was going to fall eventually. It had to. There was absolutely no way, impossible for anybody to keep up that type of run, right? Did all I could, got some bad beats on Saturday. Sunday was just, don't know what the hell happened. Sunday was just a madhouse in the NFL. But what are you going to do? 16-18. That makes certain people, certain LSU fans, happy. When I do poorly, it makes certain LSU fans happy. Now, I've said this before, that I don't mind the hate, right? Go ahead, bring on the hate, talk all the yang you want. But here's the thing. You want to fade me? By all means. Go ahead, fade me. At your own peril. I'm documented. I'm giving you free picks every single week, and my winning percentage has been off the charts since I've been doing it. It's time to get back on the winning streak after all that. For those of you new to the show, make sure to hit the subscribe button down here in the bottom right-hand corner. It's right there. This way you'll be notified every time I post a new video, generally on Friday evenings. So make sure that you're a subscriber, make things easier. Last week, 16-18 overall, 47%. What are you going to do? Here's the thing, though. College football, we went 9-10. At one point, I was 3-9 in college football. Really, really struggling in the afternoon last Saturday, but turned it around. Closed on a 6-1 run, 6-1 run to close 9-10, which is a hell of a lot better than what we were looking at. So that leaves us 43-20 for the season in NCAA football, 68.25%. How you like that? NFL, 7-8. All right, what are you going to do? It doesn't help when you lost the last 3 games. Sunday night, 2 games on Monday. Lost all 3. With 7-5 going into them. Not a bad week, but 7-8, right? That leaves us 17-14, good for 54.84% for the season, 2 weeks into the NFL. Overall for the season right now, 60 wins, 34 losses, 63.83%. What? And that's with a 16-18 dog that I dropped in your lap last week. That ain't going to happen again. So we're going to bounce back strong and hit them hard. Okay? You ready? Here we go. Saturday afternoon, noon Eastern time. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This has the makings. I'm telling you, we got the makings. 3-0 Clemson versus 3-0 Wake Forest. 2 ranked ACC teams. Clemson right now is getting it done, right? They're winning ugly, right? And they're winning big, both, right? Wake, on the other hand, 7.5-point dogs right here at home. Clemson has won 13 straight over Wake. All right? Make that 14. They're going to win tomorrow. They're going to win Saturday. But can they cover the 7.5? I say no. I like Wake in this game, right? Right now, they're playing really well against, or Clemson's the defense is vulnerable to the pass, right? And Sam Hartman, right, he can get it done. He can throw. Wake is a pass-happy offense. This game is just screaming for Wake to catch the back door, especially at home. In Clemson, this would be a 2-touchdown line. But at home, it's a 7.5 line. I love that hook. I'm going to take the hook. I'm going to take Wake at home. Noon Eastern time, Ames, Iowa. Iowa State versus Baylor. Good matchup here. Iowa State comes in 3-0 as 2.5-point favorites over 17th ranked Baylor, who's 2-1. This is a great rivalry. It always has been. These teams always play each other tough. The home team has won the last 8 in this series, meaning they're 4-4 against each other. That's great. I love that, right? I love to hear that. Baylor's running game right now is going to prove to be too much. Richard Reese right now is running out of his mind. I like Iowa State. I think they can do some damage in the Big 12, but I like Baylor more. Give me Baylor plus the 2.5, or take Baylor on the money line to win outright. Either way, Baylor's your winner. Noon Eastern time, Lawrence, Kansas. Kansas versus Duke. Both teams 3-0. Mike Krzyzewski versus Bill Self. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong sport. Yeah, Duke versus Kansas in Lawrence. Oh my God, they're playing at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. It's going to be incredible. Dickie V is going to be yelling. No. Easy. This is football we're talking about. How in the hell did Kansas and Duke both wind up 3-0? Well, they did. They're both 3-0. Now, neither team is ranked, but both teams can score. That's the thing, right? It's a great rivalry. Well, it's not really a rivalry. It's a great rivalry in basketball, right? Here you've got Kansas quarterback Jalon Daniels right now. 5 touchdowns last week against Houston. They're really getting it done. This is an offense that's averaging 50 points per game. Duke can score, and Kansas's defense is susceptible, but Duke's defense is even more susceptible. Kansas has burned me twice this season. Now with me going against them. Now I'm going to take them. Let's see if they make it a hat trick and burn me when I take them. I'm taking Rock Chalk Jayhawk KU minus 7.5 at home. Noon Eastern time, the Big House, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan versus Maryland, 3-0 versus 3-0. 4th ranked Michigan, 16.5-point favorites over 3-0 Maryland. Maryland right now is scoring. Taulia Tagovailoa is really got the offense moving. And I'm watching Syracuse versus Virginia, and Dino Babers is putting it on Virginia right now. Anyway, Tagovailoa has that offense going, but I just don't trust Maryland. I don't trust their defense. I never have. Michigan here is 16.5-point favorites now. Their defense is way too good. They've outscored their first 3 opponents. Granted, they haven't played anybody. 166-17. Yeah. 16.5 at home. It might as well be 25. Give me Michigan. Lay the lumber at home. Noon Eastern time. Jordan Hare Stadium on the Plains, Auburn, Alabama. Auburn 2-1, 7-point favorites over 2-1 Missouri. Saturdays in the South. That's right. SEC football. Saturdays in the South with the 3 F's: family, faith, and football. You gotta love it. I love it. I love everything about Saturdays in the South. Right now, Missouri's head coach, right, Eli Drinkwitz, he worked, right, under Brian Harsin, who's Auburn's head coach, at Arkansas State and at Boise State. So it's one of those teacher versus student type things, but they did work together on a lot of things. Auburn's got a loss to Penn State. Missouri's got a loss to K-State. I don't think either team is very good, right? Believe it or not, Auburn is not the team that they usually are, especially in the ACC, and they're always tough at home. But 7 points is a big number to be laying. A full touchdown to a Missouri team that can get after it. Give me Missouri plus the 7 on the road at Jordan Hare. Last noon Eastern time game, Dallas, Texas. Another great rivalry, SMU versus TCU. TCU comes in 2-0 and 2-point favorites at SMU, who's 2-1. This is the Sonny Dykes Bowl, plain and simple. Sonny Dykes coached at SMU for years. The game's been a sellout. It's going to be standing room only in Dallas. Last week, SMU lost to Maryland. Tanner Mordecai, their quarterback, has got it going for SMU. But TCU right now, right? Believe it or not, Sonny Dykes actually has them playing defense. When you think of TCU, usually you think of defense, but that was with Patterson at the helm. Sonny Dykes, you don't think of defense at all, but their defense is playing well. They have a balanced offense. It's not pass heavy. So I like TCU here to go into SMU, or to go into Dallas and leave with the W. Give me the Horned Frogs -2. 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Boulder, Colorado. 3-0 UCLA is a 3-touchdown favorite, 21-point favorites at 0-3 Colorado. Here's the thing. I had this conversation with a certain bearded Irish Colombian friend of mine who lives in South Florida last week. When the hell did Colorado become the worst team in the Power 5? The entire Power 5. They're awful. They are really, really bad. Blowout losses to Air Force, TCU, and Minnesota so far. And they're not exactly playing big shots. They're not playing one tomorrow. UCLA is not a big shot. They've been starting slowly, right? But their defense is, has been struggling also. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Zach Charbonnet, they create a hell of a 1-2 punch for Chip Kelly's offense. And UCLA is going to score in the 40s. They always do, right? Can they get into the 50s if Colorado decides to score 20 points? If Colorado does, UCLA will still cover. Give me the Bruins. Lay the 3 touchdowns. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, East Lansing, Minnesota versus Michigan State. We got the makings here. Minnesota's 3-0. Row the boat, PJ Fleck. Row the boat. 3 blowout wins so far, but 3 blowout wins. Colorado was their best opponent, and I just told you how little I think of Colorado. Running back Mo Ibrahim is legit. He runs the shit out of the ball. The problem Minnesota has is Tanner Morgan. He's been there for 37 years. He's got to be 80-something years old. He's still a quarterback, and he's never been very good. Never. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been very good. Michigan State, on the other hand, had the big loss to Washington. Winner on my end. And they had to fly back to Michigan, or back to East Lansing after that brutal loss. But Seattle's a tough place to play, and Michigan State found out the hard way. They have been struggling on pass defense, but like I said, with Tanner Morgan throwing the ball against them, they don't really have a whole hell of a lot to worry about. I like the home dog here, Michigan State +3.5 at home. +3, excuse me, not 3.5. We'll roll with them at 3. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, excuse me. There we go. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Neyland Stadium, Knoxville, Knoxville, Tennessee. 3 hours away from here on Rocky Top. Tennessee versus Florida. It doesn't get any better than this. 3-0 Tennessee, 2-1 Florida. Tennessee's 10.5-point chalk here. Ranked 11th. Somehow they snuck up on everybody, and they got a high deserved ranking. But what do you think of when you think of Florida versus Tennessee? Every year during this week you hear, can't spell Tennessee can't spell citrus without UT. God bless the old ball coach. Steve Spurrier was good for the game, and we need him back. Steve Spurrier dropped that line when Peyton Manning was the quarterback at Tennessee, as Peyton Manning went 0-4 against Florida. Here's the thing, right? Florida has won the last 5 in this rivalry and 16 of the last 17. So it ain't a rivalry. It's not a rivalry, right? Maybe it was a long time ago, but a rivalry is when both sides are winning. Giants, Dodgers, that's a rivalry, all right? This is not a rivalry. This is blowout central. But 10 points Florida's getting here, right? Hendon Hooker has turned into a hell of a quarterback for UT. Anthony Richardson is kind of up and down so far for Florida. And Billy Napier, the head coach, he's turned the corner, and he's got Florida playing well, but he's got to get Anthony Richardson to stop making dumb mistakes, and that's the problem right now. Now, Florida's played a lot tougher competition than Tennessee has, which is why I like Florida. Their only loss was to Utah, and they're a top, as far as I'm concerned, they're a top 10 team, even with the loss to Florida. I like Florida here. I'm going to take the points. UT wins. UF covers, plus 10.5. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Lubbock, Texas. Another good rivalry. Texas versus Texas Tech. The 22nd ranked Longhorns are 7-point chalk and 2-1 against the 2-1 Red Raiders. 3 straight home games for Texas to start the season. Right now they go on the road for the first time into Lubbock. They've had to come from behind. Right. They came from behind in their win against Texas San Antonio last week. We all saw what they did to Alabama. They put the fear of God into them, but they were trailing to UTSA last week before they turned it on and took over in the second half. Texas Tech lost to NC State last week, right? And that's 16th ranked NC State. So Texas Tech can play, right? Last year, Texas won this game 70-35. I don't see that happening again. I think Texas takes it personally. Texas Tech. I like the Raiders plus the points at home. Plus 7, Raiders. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Nippert Stadium in the Queen City of Stony Natty. Cincinnati, 16.5-point favorites and 2-1, come in against the 3-0 Indiana Pacers. Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana makes its trip down to the Queen City after wins over Illinois, Idaho State, and Western Kentucky. Not exactly Murderer's Row, but they had to come from behind in all 3 to do it. One of them cost me dearly last week in the total, which was just a brutal one of my bad beats. Quarterback Connor Bezelek has it going right now for Indiana, right? And he finds a way to win, despite the fact that he's second to last in the Big Ten in completion percentage at only 56%. Right now, Cincinnati, on the other hand, they're going to be feasting on that. Right, they lost to Arkansas to start the season, and they've had 2 blowout wins since. They seem to have gotten it going. Quarterback Ben Bryant right now is leading an offense that's averaging 41 points a game. It may seem like a big number, and it probably is, and it is. But I don't give a shit. I'm taking Cincinnati. I'm laying 16.5. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Liberty Bowl, 3 hours west of here. Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, 2-1 and 12-point favorites over the 2-2 Mean Green of North Texas. This one right here is going to be very interesting. Memphis lost to Mississippi State, but they have wins over Navy and Arkansas State. So what does that tell you? They play anybody good, they don't win, right? Period. North Texas lost to UNLV and SMU, but they beat Texas Southern and UTEP. So the same could be said about North Texas. But North Texas' running game right now is on another level, and that's Memphis's biggest issue, is stopping the run on defense. I like North Texas in this one to keep the chains moving and to keep this game tight. Memphis wins, but North Texas covers. Give me the Mean Green plus the 12.5. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Pullman, Washington. Some people are saying this could be the best game of the week. 2-1 and 15th ranked Oregon heads east to Pullman as 7-point favorites to take on the 3-0 Washington State Cougars. Yes, I said 3-0 Washington State Cougars. Oregon lost to Georgia in spectacular fashion to start the season, but they bounced back with a blowout win over Eastern Washington and an impressive win over BYU last week. And BYU's a good football team, very good program. One of my losses last week, and Oregon cost me for it. Wazoo, on the other hand, has wins over Idaho State and Colorado State at home, and they beat Wisconsin on the road in Madtown. So you know how that can get, right? Quarterback Cameron Ward right now for Wazoo, he's really starting to come into his own. He's got it going on. Oregon's Bo Nix, he's the wild card. He was spectacular last week against BYU, and he's mostly the reason that they got the win. But can he continue? I say no, because he's never been able to continue. So give me Wazoo +7 at home. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Jerry's World, Texas, Arlington, Arkansas versus A&M. I love this matchup. SEC 3-0 Arkansas, 2-point dogs at all the way up to number 10 in the country against Texas A&M, who's ranked 23rd. They're 2-1. They had the big loss a couple weeks ago to Appalachian State. They bounced back with a win over an improving Miami team. You're welcome, Donnie. An improving Miami team, but who's not quite ready for primetime. A&M, I don't think they're quite ready for prime time, right? Arkansas won last year at Jerry World to snap the 9-game winning streak that A&M had hung on Arkansas. 37 points per game for Arkansas. They lead the nation in sacks. They're 7th in rush defense, which means A&M won't be able to run the ball. Yes, and Max Johnson just doesn't look right. The offense has been struggling. Their defense is legit. They're 9th in the nation in scoring. But, you know, I like Arkansas here. I think they make it 2 in a row at Jerry World over A&M. And they knock A&M right out of the top 25. And Arkansas moves firmly into the top 10 to get to 4-0. 7:30 p.m. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Call in Baton Rouge. Hello, Samantha, dear. I hope you're feeling fine. Well, you know, LSU is 2-1 and 32-point favorites over New Mexico. Way to schedule them tough there, Mr. Kelly. Brian Kelly still trying to, you know, stay tough and, you know, spend more time with his family. Well, LSU just got slapped with suspensions now. The Ed Orgeron regime, recruiting violations, improper contact. Hold on, didn't I already address that with the altar boys and the improper, peculiar relationships with their priests, crews? Yeah, well, this was a different type of improper contact with a recruit. Well, LSU's LSU. What are you going to do, right? They break every law. They break every rule, right? Why do you think Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go down to Baton Rouge? Because he can get any recruit he wants. He couldn't get that in South Bend because they have academic standards, right? LSU has no academic standards. You have a 3rd grade reading level, who gives a shit? You can run a 4.340, you can play. Come on and play. Are we going to take them? No. Give me New Mexico. Yes. I've never said that in any of my videos, but I'm saying it here. Give me the Lobos, +32 on the road in Death Valley. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Kansas State and Oklahoma. Norman, Oklahoma's the site. K-State comes in at 2-1. OU is 3-0, ranked 6th, and 13-point chalk in this one. K-State had won 2 straight before OU won last year, 37-31 in the Little Apple, Manhattan. K-State always seems to play Oklahoma tough, but here's the problem. K-State lost to K-State lost to freaking Tulane. Got to watch my P's and Q's every now and then. They lost to Tulane last week. Oklahoma, their starters haven't even seen the 4th quarter this year. 3 blowout wins. Make it 4. Lay the 13. Give me the Sooners. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Corvallis, Oregon. Another good matchup in the Pac-12. Oregon State versus USC. USC comes in 3-0, ranked 7th. They go north to Corvallis, where the Beavers are 3-0. Yes, OSU beat USC last year 45-28 in LA, right? USC's rolling right now, right? The offense is on another level. Lincoln Riley's got them believing that they can actually play for a national championship. Oregon State right now, their offense is 13th in the nation, 46 points per game. They're scoring a lot. USC is a little dinged up on their D-line. I like Oregon State to keep this one close. USC should win this game, but give me the Beavers plus the 6. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. ASU, Tempe, Arizona. Utah, 13th ranked and 2-1. They come in 15.5-point chalk against 1-2 Sun Devils. The Sun Devils are a mess. They just fired Herm Edwards. They're a totally different team right now. Cam Rising, on the other hand, for Utah, is one of those quarterbacks who just keeps improving. I'm a huge Kyle Whittingham guy. Give me Utah minus 15.5. Shit, give him to me at minus 22. They're going to win, and they're going to win big, and they're going to win easily. Finally, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night, the Degenerate Special, of which I hit again last week, making me 4-0 on the season for the Degenerate Special. Here's the thing. You can talk all you want about my record, my 9-10 record in the NCAA last week, but if you play these picks the way they're supposed to be played and you've been losing all day, the Degenerate Special is designed to do one thing: get you out of the red and get you at least back to even to live to fight another day on Sunday. Well, I've done that 4 times in a row. Stony drags his 4-0 Degenerate Special record into Seattle tomorrow night. Stanford versus Washington. Washington's 3-0 and ranked 18th. They're 14-point favorites, a 2-touchdown favorite over Stanford. Stanford's coming off a bye, right, before they lost to USC 2 weeks ago. Washington, on the other hand, they're 3-0, an impressive win over Michigan State last week. Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback, seems to have turned a page and has it going for Washington. But Stanford is just another level when they're playing ranked teams. 5-1 versus ranked Washington, all right? And that's just overall. They're 5-1 against Washington when they're ranked. And here's the stat that I love. Stanford has won 29 games. They've won 29 games as a dog against the ranked team. Don't know how many they've lost, but they've won 29 under David Shaw since Shaw took over. Give me Stanford plus the 14. 2 touchdowns, too many. I'm going to roll with the Cards. So there's 19 plays for you, just like that. NCAA. Moving on, NFL Sunday. Y'all ready for this? Soldier Field, 1 p.m. Boy, here's one with a lot of playoff implications. 0-1-1 Houston heads to Soldier Field to take on the 1-1 Bears. The Bears, 3-point favorites. The Bears beat the Niners in week 1 in that monsoon. Then they came back to reality last week with a blowout loss at Lambeau against Green Bay. Justin Fields is their guy. Seems to be their only guy. Roquan Smith. There's just not a lot there to like about Chicago. Houston tied Indianapolis in week 1 and lost to Denver last week, though they held the lead late into the third quarter. Davis Mills is improving. He's been improving ever since they made him the starter. I like Houston here. I think Houston goes into Cincinnati and wins, but I'll take them plus 3. 1 p.m., Nissan Stadium, 10 minutes away from here, right down the road. Raider Nation is in the house. The Raider fans flying in tonight from the O to Music City. I love it. 0-2 Tennessee versus 0-2 Las Vegas. The Raiders, 2.5-point favorites. 0-3 is a death sentence, and both these teams know it. Now, the difference is the Raiders can't afford to go 1-3, not playing in the AFC West. Tennessee can afford to go 1-3 and still make the playoffs because their division is so bad. But they already lost the New York Giants at home, and then they got blasted by Buffalo last Monday night. The Raiders, on the other hand, tough losses to San Diego and Arizona to start the season. Now they head cross country to take on Tennessee. I like the Raiders in this one at 2.5 with Tennessee on the short week. The Raiders, like I said, they need this one more than the Titans do. Give me the Raiders minus 2.5. 1 p.m. Eastern time, Indianapolis. You got the Colts versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs 2-0, 5.5-point favorites over the 0-1-1 Colts, who are the biggest disappointment in the NFL. Yeah, it's safe to say they're favored to win the AFC South, but like I just told you with Tennessee, the AFC South is awful right now, and the Colts are still going to probably win the AFC South. Well, KC right now has wins over Zona and San Diego, and they've done them both in pretty spectacular fashion. They've got extra rest because they haven't played since a week and a half ago on Thursday night when they beat San Diego. The Colts tied Houston in week 1 and were shut out by Jacksonville last week. You think Matt Ryan and Jonathan Taylor are going to allow that again? No, I think they get it going here, and they scare the shit out of Kansas City. KC's 5.5. Give me the Colts plus the points at home. 1 p.m. Eastern time. Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens. This is the matchup of the day as far as I'm concerned. Now, it all depends on when you got this line. It's been as high as 7, and right now it's as low as 3. All right, Buffalo is favored. I got them yesterday, and I'm giving them to you right down the middle at 5.5. That's because there's not a lot of faith in the health of the Bills right now, right? Primarily Allen, right? Josh Allen, right, doesn't look like he's going to go. If he goes, that line will be up to 7 or 8 by game time, right? But for all the injuries that Buffalo has, 4 starters on defense are out. Josh Allen has fractured rib cartilage. This is a time to sit out, take the week off, Josh. Miami, on the other hand, they're 2-0. They had that miraculous comeback last week against Baltimore. And right now, Mike Macdonald, their head coach, coming off wins over Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh in his first 2 games. That's pretty good. But not on Sunday. With Josh Allen, without Josh Allen, with the banged up secondary, Miami's got their own issues. So left tackle, right guard are both hurt. Left tackle is the guy who's going to have to block Von Miller. Yeah, I'm going to take Buffalo. I'm going to lay the number, right? But again, right now, it's the number's dancing. It could be 3, it could be 7. I got it at 5.5. I'm taking Buffalo minus 5.5. 1 p.m. Eastern time, Stoneapple, Minnesota. The Vikings are 1-1. The Lions are 1-1. The Minnesota 6-point favorites at home. They're coming off a short week because they lost to Philadelphia on Monday night after an impressive win over Green Bay in week 1. They turned around and shat all over themselves on Monday night. Detroit, on the other hand, lost to Philly but beat Washington. Detroit, but has covered them both. Washington has a knack of covering numbers. Don't know how they do it. They did it on the stretch last year for me. Then they've done it already to start the season. I'm going to continue to roll with them. Give me the Lions plus 6. Minnesota wins. Lions cover. Foxborough, Massachusetts. Baltimore versus New England. Baltimore's 1-1 and 3-point favorites on the road against New England, who's also 1-1. Baltimore's got a win over the Jets and a loss, that spectacular blow-up fashion loss to Miami. New England, on the other hand, lost at Miami and won at Pittsburgh. Well, now they're coming home for the first time, right? Most people think Baltimore's just going to bounce back, beat up on a struggling New England team, right, and send New England to 1-2. Now, that could very well happen, but New England at home, their first home game of the season, give me New England plus the 3. 1 p.m. Eastern time, Snoopy Stadium in New Jersey. Yes, the New Jersey Jets are 1-1. and they're home dogs. They're catching 6 against the 0-2 Bengals. What does that tell you about the Jets? The Bengals are 0-2, and they're favorites. 6-point chalk on the road against the Jets. The Jets lost to Baltimore, but came back in spectacular fashion to beat Cleveland last week. Cincinnati, on the other hand, lost to Pittsburgh, but then they lost to Pittsburgh in week 1, which was very disappointing. Then lost to Dallas last week in a game. They could easily be 2-0. Instead, they're 0-2. Give me the Bengals here. I think the Bengals roll. I think the Bengals get right on the road and roll up the numbers here. 1 p.m. Eastern time not the last one yet. 1 p.m. Eastern time, FedEx Field in our nation's capital. We got Philly versus Washington, a classic NFC East battle. 2-0 Philadelphia comes in as 6.5-point chalk against the Commanders or the Condoms or the football team or the Redskins, whatever you want to call them. Washington's 1-1. Philly's 2-0. Philly has wins at Detroit and against Minnesota on Monday night. Washington, on the other hand, a win over Jacksonville and a loss last week at Detroit in a game that they came back and damn near pulled it out at the end, but didn't quite have enough. Philly's coming in on a short week. Washington, this is the Carson Wentz game. Carson Wentz has a chance right here. Touchdown Syracuse. Dino's rolling it up. Carson Wentz has a chance to beat the team that got rid of him in favor of Jalen Hurts. So give me Washington plus 6.5 at home here. 1 p.m. Eastern time, the last of the 1 o'clock games. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. New Orleans, 2.5-point favorites against Carolina. New Orleans is 1-1. They beat it. They won in Atlanta to start the season, and then were just tore apart and dismantled by Tampa Bay last week at home. Carolina's 0-2, losses to Cleveland and the Giants. Haven't covered, haven't looked good, haven't played well. Hi, Baker Mayfield. How you liking that move now? I like Carolina here for some odd, strange reason. I love New Orleans defense, and I don't like Baker Mayfield. But I like Christian McCaffrey, and I think this is the time. I don't think New Orleans is a 2-1 team. I think they lose, Carolina wins, and both teams are 1-2 at the end of the day. 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, SoFi Stadium, La La Land. The Los Angeles / San Diego Clippers, Chargers are 7-point favorites against the 1-1 Jaguars. Jacksonville lost at Washington in week 1, but came back to thoroughly dismantle Indianapolis last week. The Chargers, on the other hand, they're 1-1. They beat the Raiders in week 1 and lost at Kansas City on Thursday night a week and a half ago. They've got the extra rest. The big question here is, I was going to say Phillip Rivers, right? Right now, the big question for them is the health of their quarterback, right? Justin Herbert right now, they don't know if he's going to go. He's listed as questionable, right? Doesn't matter. Questionable or not. Give me Chase Daniel. Lay the 7. Give me Jacksonville. No, give me the Chargers. Lay the 7. 4:25 Eastern time. Glendale, Arizona. Arizona 1-1 versus the Rams, who are 1-1. The Rams come in as 3.5-point chalk. Zona lost to Kansas City in week 1 and then just don't know what the hell happened, and that come from behind win over the Raiders last week in Las Vegas, but they're 1-1, right? The Rams, on the other hand, lost to Buffalo on Thursday night to start the season, bounced back with a win over Atlanta last week, in which they almost blew a 20-0 lead, a huge lead, right? But give me the Rams minus 3.5, period. The NFL needs the Rams to be 2-1, and I'll just leave it at that. 4:25 Eastern time, Lumen Field, home of the 12th man up in Seattle. Seattle is 1-1, and they're 1-point favorites over the Falcons, who are 1-1. Seattle beat Denver and lost and came back down to earth against the 49ers last week. Seattle's overrated. Sorry, Slick. You know it's true. Atlanta is just not a very good team. They lost to New Orleans, but they lost to New Orleans. Well, hold on. Did I get that right? Atlanta's 0-2. Yeah, Atlanta's 0-2. I said they were 1-1. Atlanta's 0-2. They lost to New Orleans and then they lost to the Chargers, right? But they've covered both games, right? Somehow, some way. Or not the Chargers, the Rams. Got to get that together. Last week they came all the way back to cover the number, right? So they're 2-0 against the spread. I'll take the Falcons right here to go to 1-2 to get their first win. 4:25 Eastern time, the game of the week. Oh my God, everybody's just up in arms. It's Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. No, it's not. It's Green Bay versus Tampa Bay, and not one wide receiver is healthy for either side. It's that bad. Yeah. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. The Bucks are 2-0. The Packers are 1-1. Tampa's got wins at Dallas and at New Orleans. Now they're home for the first time. And that defense is legit, but they're banged up. They're really, really banged up. So is Green Bay. Green Bay lost at Minnesota to start the season, but bounced back with an impressive win over a shitty Bears team last Sunday night. I like the Packers here because everybody else likes Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. I'll take Aaron Rodgers, a guy that I despise. You know why? Because it ain't about this. It's about this. Give me the Pack +1. Sunday night, 8:20 Eastern time, Mile High in Vesco, whatever it's called these days, but it is in the Mile High city of Denver. The Broncos are 1-1. The Niners are 1-1. The Niners come to town as 1.5-point favorites. Denver's got a loss at Seattle and a win at Houston. Two awful, awful teams, and Denver's looked very bad in both. The 49ers looked horrible in week 1 against the Bears, but they bounced back at home last week against the bad team in Seattle. So neither one of these teams has played anybody good. Give me Jimmy G -1.5. I'll take the Niners. Monday night, last game of the week, Dallas versus the Giants, another NFC East classic at Snoopy Stadium in New Jersey. It's the New Jersey Giants. 1-point favorites over the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants somehow are 2-0. They got a win here in Tennessee in week 1 and a win over Carolina last week. Dallas has a loss to Tampa Bay in week 1, but a win in Cincinnati last week. I like Dallas. I think Cooper Rush right now is playing well. I'm not a fan of Daniel Jones. I'm not a fan of the Giants. I am a fan of Saquon Barkley and the Giants' defense starting to improve. But Dallas's defense is no joke, right? So I'm going to roll with the Cowboys +1 on the road. Take them outright. There you go. Just like last week, 19 college, 15 pro, 34 for that ass. 34 for the weekend. You like that? Do you like that? 34 picks. I want to hit 20. 20 wins would be great. 19, but anything up into the 20s, that, then we're really talking. So just remember that if you want to win money, if you want to win big, you got to bet big, right? Scared money don't make money. To me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.